this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know when you're traveling to Israel when it comes to money, and how to prevent some of the mistakes that I found myself in. So right now I'm in day 9 of my time here in Israel, and the money side of things has been a real struggle. It's been kind of a headache at times. Our trip, even though it's had a great itinerary, the weather has been perfect, and the order of events and where we've gone to different places in that order has been phenomenal. The money has been a real nightmare. So our team was not really prepared. So I'm going to give you some tips and everything you need to know so that you can prepare well ahead of time so that you don't find yourself in some of the fiascos that we have been in. So the first thing I want to go over is the exchange rate. Okay, so you can just kind of start thinking in your mind shekels and American dollars. Okay, how do they relate to each other? Well, one American dollar, the best way to think of it is one American dollar equals about 3.5 shekels. Now that changes, and if you get a currency exchange app on your phone, then it'll tell you exactly in real time when that bumps up or when it falls back down. For example, for our trip here, while we've been here, the shekel changed value to where it's now like 3.64 or something like that shekels for one American dollar. But just a rough estimate, just so you can do the math in your head, you can just think 3.5 shekels equals one American dollar. So that means 35 shekels is about $10 an American. So that's how you can kind of switch back and forth in your mind. So twice of that, if you have 70 shekels, that's about $20. Okay, so you can use that ratio. That works really well. Now the new currency, I'm going to go over all of the bills so you can kind of see what these are. And then after that, we're going to go through all the coins. Okay. Start with the bills. First up, we have the 20 shekel bill. Okay, now this piece of currency, this denomination of bill is about, $7 or so American dollars. So what can you buy with 20 shekels? You can buy like a cheap coffee or like an ice cream. And by the way, the ice cream in Israel is incredible. It's fantastic. So you have to try some ice cream while you're here. So either sherbet, or they have non-dairy ice cream, so like made with soy and whatever. So you do need to try some ice cream. But that's basically what you can get with 20 shekels in Israel. Now this is the lowest bill that they have. It's the red one here. So if you have this is the lowest denomination of bill that you can get, 20 shekels. Okay. Now the next one is a 50 shekel bill. Looks like this. So it's green. And by the way, all of these are actually different lengths. It's really cool. If you hold them up, they're the same width, but they're different lengths. Okay, so just barely. You'll see as we go along, they are exactly the same width, like this here, but then the lengths are barely different. So the higher the number on the bill, the longer it gets. So that's really interesting. So the green one, 50 shekels. What can you get with 50 shekels in Israel? Well, that'll buy you lunch at most, fast food restaurants or gas stations. Here they call them petrol stations. But it'll get you lunch. It's basically, about $15 or maybe a little bit more than that in American money. But you can get a couple good items for lunch. One of them is a falafel, which is like deep fried basically peas mashed together, something like that. Really good. Or a schnitzel, which is like kind of like chicken with like breading on it. You can put that in a sub or something like that. Or shwana, I think is what it is, which is basically grilled chicken. You can get that in a pita or something like that. Very good. So any of those options, that's probably a 50 shekel bill is probably going to be what you pay at the restaurant for any of those. So that's basically what you're going to be paying for lunch. Okay, now if you're going to try to save money, kind of pinch your pennies while you're traveling here, maybe just skate by without getting a drink sometimes, or maybe just with a drink and an ice cream or something, you're going to be paying with that 20 shekel bill. Or sometimes you can get by with paying for lunch with 20 shekels, and then you can save yourself the 50 shekel for souvenirs, something like that. Okay, so 50 shekels should be plenty for your lunch unless you're going to a nicer lunch or a nicer restaurant. Now the next one, they only have 4 bills here. Okay, so we're halfway through the bill denominations. The next one is 100 shekels. This one's really pretty. It's nice and yellow. It's got a picture of some animals on the back. Very nice, if you can see that. Very beautiful money here. Very colorful. So the 100 shekels, what can you get with that? Well, basically a nice souvenir made out of olive wood or something like that. It amounts to like $27, something like that. So, you know, a t-shirt, nice souvenir, something. You can almost pay for the St. Peter's fish down at the Sea of Galilee. That's like $30, and then you're going to tip a little bit after that. So almost pay for that, but that's 100 shekels. So it seems like a lot just because it has 100 on there. But it's only about $37, something like that. So that's 100 shekels. Now let's go to the next one, 200 shekels. This is our largest denomination that they have here in Israel. You can see the moon on the back of it there. So 200 shekels. Now just compare this to, just for fun, the 20 shekel bill. It's interesting how much longer it is. So the 200 shekels, the highest bill amount in Israel. It is about $50 or $60 American dollars, something like that. Maybe 70, but it's not as much. It's not 200, you know, in American money. But with the 200 shekel bill, you can buy a more expensive meal. You can buy a nicer souvenir. You can buy a ram's horn shofar. You can't buy, you know, some of the nicer shofars, the longer ones like a Yemenite shofar, something like that. And by the way, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a little breakdown of the different kinds of shofars, just as a bonus, okay? If you're looking for a shofar, if that's one of the things you want to buy, watch all the way to the very end of this video. So now we're going to go into the coins, okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different kinds of coins here in Israel. The first one is the 10 agorat. Okay, the 10 agorat. This one is almost worthless. Okay, basically think of it as like the penny in the Israeli economy. An agorat is 1/100th of a shekel, and so this coin is worth 10 of those, so it's basically like a dime. Okay, so it's like a 10-cent piece, but it's not cents, it's 10 agorat, which is 100th of a shekel. So 10 of these coins makes 1 shekel. Okay, 10 of these equals 1 shekel. Now the next coin is a half shekel, and really the name is simple. It just comes from biblical times when people had to pay the tax to go to the temple. So this is just a half shekel, almost just as worthless as the 10 agorat, but not quite. So not worth a lot. These coins are very small. But now we move to the full shekel, which is a very tiny coin. You can kind of see a comparison of how small this coin is. But that's 1 shekel, so you can give 20 of those and it's worth the same as the 20 shekel bill. So this is where the bill and the coins start to relate to each other. So that's the shekel coin. Then there's a 2 shekel coin. That's pretty self-explanatory. Then there's a 5 shekel coin, which is 4 of these coins equals 1 of the $20 bills, 20 shekel bills. Then there's the 10 shekel coin. Now don't get the 10 shekel coin confused with the 10 agorat. The difference is one is made up of 2 metals, so that's the more valuable one. That's 10 shekels. That's half of the 20 shekel bill. Now this is the point of the video that you really need to listen to, okay? Where do you go to exchange money? In our experience here, we've been in multiple different cities. This is our 5th hotel that we've stayed in, so we've had a broad, amount of experiences to pull from. And I can tell you, every single hotel that we've been in has been unable to exchange money, currency with us, except for one. And that was thankfully the first hotel we were in. And they only had a small cash box that they had a few spare shekel bills in, that they would take some American dollars and they would give us shekels. And we actually had to go at the very beginning of their shift so that we could just exchange, the little bit that they had. So basically, do not count on exchanging your money in a hotel. When you look it up online, most websites and things say that you can do that in hotels, but in our experience, you cannot. Okay, so don't come to Israel with a huge stack of American dollars thinking you can just go down to the lobby of your hotel each night and get some shekels for that, because you can't. And actually, in all the other hotels that we've been in, you cannot even go to them and give one of these larger bills, and they won't accept these and give you smaller bills or give you coins, which you need for tipping, because no one's going to give 100 shekel bill for a tip unless you're extremely wealthy. So if you want the money for shekels to spend in Israel, if you want the coins for tipping, you should not expect to do that at the hotel that you stay at, but instead you need to do that in the airport. You need to do that in the airport. In the airport. Okay, now the exchange rate there is going to be a little bit more expensive, but if you need shekels, which I'm assuming you do, because it's very difficult. Sometimes places only accept shekels. Sometimes they only accept small bills in shekels. Actually, the place where I went to eat today for lunch, they wouldn't even take a 50 shekel bill. They didn't want to take this for a meal that cost 25 shekels, which means they would only have to give me back, another 25 shekels. They wouldn't give me change for this. So we had to combine some meals and things. So get smaller bills, exchange early. Try to exchange your American dollars before you even leave the airport. That's my tip for you. But the good news is, a lot of places around Israel, they do accept American currency. Some people on our group have been paying with credit card or maybe debit card, I'm not sure which. That's not as safe as a route, and it's probably going to be more expensive depending on the bank that you have and their tax on that. So that's probably not the best route, but if you do have American dollars, again, smaller bills like 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, you can get around, you can survive in Israel paying for lunch with a 20 or with, a couple 5s or a couple 10s, something like that. So most places, thankfully, do accept American dollars, but they'll probably give you shekels in return. So that's a good way for you to kind of get more shekels if you missed the opportunity to exchange in the airport. But you do want to exchange in the airport. So opinions on that are varying, and people get kind of passionate about what they say, where to exchange, what's going to charge you the most for that exchange rate. But I 100% recommend exchanging almost all of your American money into shekels, or at least a good portion of it at the very beginning when you land in the airport. The airport would have been better than counting on the hotel, at least in our case. And yeah, you can do the math on that, and you can, even with exchange rates, one of the hotels said that they would give us 3.2 shekels for $1 American dollar instead of 3.5 or 3.54, whatever it was. And they were saying that's a steep exchange rate. It's really not. It's not, because if you're going to stay for like 2 weeks and you're going to be paying $15 per lunch, you're really only going to lose like $12, which is like not even a full lunch. So just accept whatever exchange rate you can find. If you can find it in a hotel, accept it. But the best way to do it is just to go ahead and exchange your money in the airport itself. Now, daily expenses getting around in Israel is basically you're going to be paying for your food and you're going to be paying for tips. You will probably already have your hotel already taken care of, the transportation taken care of, the guide taken care of, things like that. So the thing that I'm going to go over for is tipping, thinking about the tips. And I have to look this up because I forgot to do this. So the first thing, a good tip for a restaurant when someone is waiting on you is from 10 to 15%. Okay, so you can pay that in shekel coins, you can pay that in a shekel bill. That's gonna be probably only if you had a really expensive meal and you're actually gonna pay a bill for that, like a 20 shekels or something. But you're probably gonna pay it in coins, or you can give them, a couple American dollars. But for the meal, you wanna just plan on 10 to 15%. Now there's a lot of other things that you wanna think about too. So bear with me here. You want to do for the guide, okay? So for your tour guide, if you have a tour guide, what we were suggested is you want to do about $7 per person per day, Okay, so if you're going to be in Israel for 12 days, something like that, then just count up $7 times 12, and that's going to be the bare minimum tip that you're expected to give that tour guide for the work that they put into the trip for you. Okay, now you have the driver as well. So for the driver for a day of service, that's going to be $5 per day. Okay, so $5 per person per day. That goes to the driver. You can give it in American cash, but they appreciate it if you give it to them in shekels. But yes, you want to tip your guide and tip your driver. Also, and I'm going to say this wrong, but in each hotel, the people that serve you the food, they're called the matredi, something like that. You want to tip them as well. So that's going to be $1 American per person per night. Now, you give them their tip, I should say this. You give the bus driver and the guide their tip at the very end of your time there, okay? And you can give them more than that if you really appreciate their service. So that's always good. The matredi, you want to tip them $1 per person per night, and you give that to them your last night at supper, okay? So that last meal that you have before you leave the hotel, you give them the $7, or the $1 per night. So you count up all the nights, give them $1 per night. You can give that to them in shekels or in dollars, but you give that to them your last meal. Then you have hoteliers. These are the people that clean your room, the people that, unless you put up a do not disturb sign, they go through and give you fresh towels, things like that. The people who are staffing the hotel, you're going to give them 50 cents per person per night that you stay in that hotel. So that's a little less, but you count up your nights. So for example, in this hotel, I'm staying here 4 nights. So I'm going to give them $2. I'm going to give that to them the last morning when I'm checking out of the hotel. I'm going to put that in an envelope and just leave that on the front desk. So it's a lot to think about. So you don't want to be thinking about all this when you land in Israel. You want to be planning ahead, okay? So you got your driver, you got your tour guide, the matredi, the people who prepare the food at your hotel. You've got regular meals that you buy out and about that you're going to tip them if they waited on you, if there was a service there. You've got the hoteliers who clean your room, things like that. Then you got one more person, that's the porters. Okay, these are the people who grab your luggage off the bus and they take it up to your room. Sometimes they'll give you stickers at the hotel when they give you your key, your room key, and it'll have your room number on it. And you stick that sticker on your luggage. The porters are the ones who take that right up to your room. And for their service, you're going to give them $4. You're going to give them $1 per piece of luggage. Okay, so that's just one piece of luggage in and out, because they'll offload it from the bus, take it to your room, then they'll take it down from the room, put it back on the bus. For that one piece of luggage, going both ways, it's $1 per piece of luggage. And you're going to give that to them, obviously, when you're leaving. So that's the tip for the porters. So a lot of things to think about just in regards to the tips. There's one final tip. Sometimes you'll have a farewell dinner. Sometimes there'll be kind of a big, elaborate going away meal. You're going to tip a little bit extra for that. That's the $4 that I mentioned earlier when I was misspeaking. But that's just $4 per person. So that's one more tip that you might want to think about. So taking all this in, just remember to plan ahead. Plan the money that you're going to need for your meals, how much you want to bring for souvenirs once you've paid your reservation, you paid the cost for the tour, then put enough money aside for your tips and for your souvenirs. And that's what you're going to keep track of the whole time while you're here. Your daily expenses is going to be for the food. You're going to give the tip for that. You're going to give the tip for the people at the hotel, the various different tips there. And then the rest is just free for you to spend in Israel, looking for souvenirs for you to bring back and remember your trip to the land of Israel. And that leads me to my last point. I just want to give you a couple more tips when you're shopping for shofars, okay? I absolutely love shofars. They're the coolest thing to look for in every store that you go to, okay? But be careful, because sometimes they're way overpriced, okay? And I'll tell you this at the beginning, the cheapest places that I found when I was here, well, I am here right now, but the cheapest places I've seen that sell shofars have been in Jerusalem. So in Jerusalem here, they sell a large shofar for $220 American dollars. That is a good price. That's reasonable. So that's not too expensive. So Jerusalem has reasonable prices. Then Nazareth. So at Nazareth, they sold a medium Yemenite shofar. So that's a curlier one. A medium Yemenite shofar for about 150, and then a small ram's horn for about 50. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the different types of horns, there's basically 3 different types that you can get. They're all referred to as shofars. You've got the ram's horn, and then you've got from the kudu, you have the Yemenite shofar. Those are normally longer, and then from the oryx, you got the very straight, kind of funny looking shofar. So for these different types, Nazareth and Jerusalem had really good prices. And then the tourist shops at Tabgha were actually...
Charlie, was the expensive place to buy the shofar, was that Migdal or Tabgha?
Gennesaar. But I don't know if it was called Magdala. It was where the boat ride, which is Gennesaar.
That's where the first century boat was?
Yeah, but I thought everyone was calling it Magdala.
Was it a kibbutz?
Kind of.
Gennesaar? I'll just look it up.
Yeah, it is. It is a kibbutz, but I thought everyone was calling it Magdala. But technically, it's Gennesaar, I think. The boat ride.
Bummer. Gennesaar.
And then the tourist shops at Tabgha were actually the most expensive that I've seen. They sold a large one, which you can get here for like $220. They sold the large one there at Tabgha for about $450. And that was after the store owner was going to give us a discount. So be very careful where you shop for your shofars. But I also want to say the cheaper price doesn't mean it's lesser quality. Okay, so if you find a shop that sells a genuine shofar and they say that it's kosher, it comes with a certificate, you know, made in Israel, things like that, it doesn't mean it's less quality because it's cheaper. It just means you're not getting ripped off, okay? And the final thing when you're shopping for a shofar is there is a great online website that's an option, okay? Now the benefits are that you don't have to pack it because it just gets shipped right to your house, and it is cheaper than you'll probably find anywhere in Israel at any of the tourist places you'll stop. But obviously the drawbacks is that you can't hold it before you get it. You know, you can't feel it or blow in it, see what it sounds like. And you're not getting it here while you're in Israel. You're just shipping it, you know, to your house. But for me, that's what I'm probably going to do because those aren't really a problem for me. So I'd rather save a few dollars, get a really nice shofar at a deal, at a really good price, and get it safely transported to my home without having to worry about packing it. So for me, that's a huge benefit. So if that's something you're interested in, you should check out the website. It's just the Israel Catalog website, and that's the place you want to go to when shopping for a shofar. So hopefully this video has been a help to you. Just think ahead before you come to Israel and plan out the money that you're going to need. And I know you're going to have a great time and enjoy spending it while you're here touring this awesome land. Thanks for watching.